Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. And today I'm going to tell you our latest adventure for our autumn and fall projects coming up this month. Yes, this autumn we're going to be working together on a stacked trifold journal, an idea based on a tag book, but it unfolds in layers. You can see here we've got 3 panels with a new panel added each month from September through to December. We will have a wonderful project by the end of it. So this is going to be made in September. This one's made in October and this one will be made in November. Now, if you're part of a swap here at the Treasured Page, you will be sending this off to a like-minded friend and receiving one back in return. You'll then be able to piece all your panels at the end and have a very rich, interesting journal that has been created by 3 different artists, and you'll be able to add your own flair within the pages that you will also set into this journal. And we are essentially making the cover here, and this is the back panel, so this is the bit we need to look for. It's chipboard and it's slightly thicker than what we've got here, which is packaging. So this can come from cereal boxes, you know, just some packaging there on those ones, but the back one does need to be a little bit more sturdy, and then they fold in like that to create the front cover. And then this is the back cover. Be able to make an adjustable binding either with tabs or with string as seen here, and you have plenty room there for your signature papers. And of course we can expand this and make it to fit however thick you would like your journal to be. So this is the idea, guys. It's very exciting. By the end of the project, each one of us will have a richly layered journal inspired by an adventure, natural history, art and imagination. So we're going to be focusing on number 1, our first panel, which measures 5¼ inches by 5 inches. That's 13 centimetres by 13 centimetres, or 12 centimetres by 13. If you would like it a little shorter, that's what this one is here. Now, when you're making this, you do need to be mindful that this side of your panel could potentially have holes punched into it in the future to allow for this style of binding. It could have tab binding on it. Either way, you just want to be mindful of what you put down here, that it's not overly embellished with a chunky lace, or you haven't left enough room if you want to add a pocket or a tag. So if you're adding tags, you need to be leaving a nice space there. Just allow that to smoothly be removable. And the same if you were having it here, it would be stopping there, so you would have to make allowance for your tag size or journaling card or specimen card. So it could be any of those things, and then that's how that could work. And you just have a look at how that could be. And by the time we've got other things stuck on the other side, all of this will be raised up anyway, and it should clear the binding. So don't worry about putting things in there, because it will lift up and clear any binding, because of course that can be made very neat and brought round to the back. But what I want to share with you today is the mood and the prompts for this project. We are taking an imaginary journey back to Sri Lanka in the 1890s, formerly known as Ceylon. This is just before the First World War and will be inspired by the adventures of Margaret Fountaine, the celebrated Victorian entomologist who travelled the globe painting exquisite watercolours and butterflies and caterpillars. So we are leaving the coastal vibe as we piece together the final parts of our ocean journals from our summer projects. We will be setting sail and heading towards the Indian Ocean. Yes, this month's panel should combine the romance of the old spice route, the mystery of the ancient Silk Road, and the delicate beauty of Margaret's butterflies. All right, so to focus in on this first panel, it is just 2 cards that have been cut out of packaging. Now, looking at it this way, you can see that there's quite a lot of opportunity here as you've got 2 pieces to play with. You can fix them together to create an area for pockets or tucks. You can have them that open up and create something inside, and then you've also got the back of it as well to decorate. And the more interactive fun you can have with this, I think it will be really great, because you are able to play around and have a thicker piece and to embellish it and really make things chunky. It doesn't matter. So we can really enjoy building something here. Now, last month I showed you how I added some larger pieces, journaling cards and some thicker envelopes into this book, which was using a tab binding method. So you can see here there are tabs, and this binds in a very chunky piece, or certainly with all the things that I've stuffed into it, it has created bulk, and that's perfect. So if you want to do anything like that, you don't have to limit yourself to keeping everything thin. We can have many tags, pockets, tucks and folds. We can have lots of tags and journaling cards added, and the bulk part doesn't matter. So this is what we're working on. It's just going to be 2 cards. We are not putting the holes in, as you just saw. We're going to be leaving that up to the end, and that will be something that we decide upon if you're doing this independently, and if you're gifting it to a like-minded friend in a swap. And that's something that they will be able to piece together when they get the 3 panels. They can decide how best to position everything, which works with the different panels that they get from 3 different people. So this is what we're doing. We've got this idea, and again you can see here I haven't cut this particularly neatly, so I have been left with something at the top there, and then I thought, well, does that matter? I could just have that, and then that could be something where a tag goes, and it's an alternative idea than cutting out a thumb hole, so you could have it like that. And as I turn it over, I've got this created here. I could even have something that's bottom loading from there like that, so that tucks in. Then the other idea is, if I've got this slightly smaller on the top, I could create a raised look, as you can see here. Now this has been created with exactly the same way. It's just one piece of card which has been wrapped in decorative paper, and then the second piece on the top has been wrapped in fabric and actually a bit of bubble wrap, so it isn't anything too difficult. Now I've got this here because it's got a butterfly on it, and this has got the colour tones in which sort of speak to me as autumn and fall, but you could choose your own colour palette, of course. We're looking at that lovely greenery, and we're heading off to Sri Lanka, so we're looking for the ancient spice road, that wonderful feel of the tropics, and we're also going to be looking at trees. Now, the minimum requirement of what you're being asked to do for this month's challenge is to create a pocket and a tag, and you only need to do that. However, if you like to take things further, you absolutely can develop this project as you see fit, and you can have more than one tag going in here. You can have it top loading, and that could be as simple as that, but you may also like to have a second one for on the other side. Maybe this one could be side loading, so you could have a go at that, or they could be journaling cards or something with a tab that pulls out. Maybe you'd like to lean into the idea of Margaret Fountaine and have a look at her study of butterflies. You could have specimen cards or some detailed cards with butterflies on that pull out as a wonderful surprise find. Alternatively, you could look at putting on something else that lifts up to create writing space or more interactive parts. Now, there's nothing to stop you adding a second card on here if you want to add a little bit of extra height or another area to add more tucks. and create more pockets or folio pieces. Okay, so you could have this decorated up on the front however you like. You could add a butterfly if you'd like to lean into the idea of Margaret Fountaine and her wonderful discoveries of butterflies. And then over the other side you could add something else that could be interactive, like an envelope, and then a further tuck behind there if that was stuck on like a pocket. So there's lots of things that you could do. You can make this one quite chunky. It would be very forgiving. You could even make something that opens out, so if you wanted to have it opening out, we could still use the punch idea there. You would just need to extend it out a little bit to give ourselves maybe some bending room so that could open out, and then you could create pockets or something of interest inside. There's just limitless ideas here. Okay guys, so the prompts for this month are going to be cinnamon, butterflies, and trees. You could be clever and combine all three, because cinnamon comes from trees. It comes from the bark of trees. So do investigate where the best cinnamon comes from. Do have a look at Margaret Fontaine's research into butterflies. Your pocket should weave in these prompts into your design, whether it's through collage, paint, stamping, stenciling, found ephemera. Okay. Alongside our panel making, we will also be running a paper swap this month, and we will be exchanging up to 8 papers to become part of a signature. They can be altered, they can be tea or coffee stained, they can have stenciling on them, but they mainly need to be left plain and unembellished with anything stuck on, no pockets or anything added at this point. The papers are meant to be used for supporting collage work, journal signatures, and also for creating ephemera for autumn and fall projects for the people receiving them. So this is just here for a little visual mood board for you, to give you the general mood that we're off on our adventures. It's an exploration. We're going to be looking for butterflies. We're going to be looking for caterpillars. We're on the spice route, so we could be looking for vanilla pods, and we could be definitely hunting down the cinnamon tree, and of course looking at the local flora and fauna and the wildlife, including other pollinators such as birds. So do bring all of that in, have a lovely time exploring Margaret Fontaine's work, and see what you can come back with this really cool panel, and what you might pull out to honour some of the prompts that I've given you there today as a really fun starting point. But mainly use the things that you have. Don't buy new. See what you can get to grips with. So do research Margaret Fontaine's travels for inspiration. I imagine the scent of cinnamon on the sea air and the tropical colours of Sri Lanka, and the excitement of discovery through the Victorian traveller's eyes. Alright guys, so that is a starting point. I will come back and I will show you exactly how I'm piecing mine together. You've got the general idea of what you can go off and make now, and we will be sending that off by the end of September. So do make sure you've got a paper pack. You can send some scraps and extras that support the 3 prompts of trees, cinnamon and butterflies, and of course you are sending your first panel all made up, decorated. That will be front and back with interactive element of a pull out tag. Alright, so you can do as much or as little of that as you like or have the capacity for, and that will be great. On our layered journal, the extra height in different places is going to look all the more interesting, so do have fun decorating and embellishing that. Think of the colour palette that you might use, the golds, the greens, and that beautiful ember glow of the low light of a sunset. The day draws to an end. That's the sort of wonderful colours that we're going to be using here in this project. That will help it tie all together and to have some continuity throughout the project. Okay, so have fun with that, guys. I will show you what I'm doing throughout this week and we'll get this project started. I just wanted to give you the heads up today so you can go away, do a bit of research, come up with some ideas of how you are going to create a very fun panel to give to your swap partners. So thank you very much for watching. I will be back very soon with the next video, but above everything else, guys, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.